Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Welcome to an October edition of Around the Hearn, a much different show than a normal show. I've been kind of working on this for a while, and when I had started putting this show together, it was going to be about losing my friend Brian Harlamert, the head coach at Coldwater, a father to four, and just, as I've said many times on many broadcasts, an amazing human being that I am fortunate to know and have known for a while, and was always one of the most positive influences. And we shared so many laughs about, he would text me about scouting and about just all these things that you'll hear about here in the next couple of minutes, in the next hour or so. But after he passed away in late September, I started recording other folks, and you'll hear from them, and a great group of people who knew him better than I. And then a couple of days ago, I got another text message. It was actually a week after Brian passed, that Lou Brunswick, the patriarch of Coldwater baseball, and an all-around amazing human being from every single person who's ever met the man, he passed away a couple of days ago. He got sick and was in the hospital, and he was a 93-year-old gentleman that really, the gentle part of a gentleman is the thing to hit on, and to just think about the Coldwater community. And my heart breaks even trying to tell the story, that I've said my thoughts, my prayers, my heart goes out to the entire community. Just an amazing couple of dudes. Baseball lifers, and just amazing role models and amazing human beings. I can't imagine just losing one, but then to lose both in the respect and the camaraderie that the two of them had for one another. Just outside of baseball, outside of the thousands of young men's lives that they impacted and the families that they made better, my heart just breaks for both of them. And while a lot of this is what you'll hear is about Brad Harlamert, you'll hear from Coach Harlamert himself in an interview that Denny Sisko and I taped at a Coldwater playoff game against Delphus Jefferson last year at halftime, in which he almost forgot to come up until I was yelling at him from the press box. He ran up. We had what I think is a pretty good encapsulation of our friendship, and about just how great of a human being he was. That he once told me that if he ever got close, he was over 500 wins in his career, that if he ever got close to Lou Brunswick, he would never break Lou's record of 750 wins. And I laughed, and as, this is probably in one of the interviews, and I might be repeating myself, but this is not an easy thing to do. He said, he kind of leaned into, well, I'll retire before that happens. And that goes to show you the amount of respect that Lou commanded as a human being, that Harley played for him before he went on to become the first scholarship player at University of Dayton history, broke a bunch of records, and was just an amazing human being. I was lucky enough to be in attendance for, I don't want to say lucky, it's not the right word, but to be around so many great people at his viewing. And on a Sunday afternoon, there were at least 200 people in line in front of me. And I've never met his wife before. And again, some of these stories you might hear in a couple of these interviews. I don't even remember what we taped because things have just been kind of crazy. But I'd never met his wife before, and I've covered his sons and daughters. And I met his wife, and we talked, and she heard my name, and she said, "Oh, well, I have to tell you a story." When Brian would be focused in during the season, he would ask me, "Hey, what do you know about a team they might be playing in a week or a week and a half?" And she'd just look at him and laugh and kind of opine, why are you still asking me these things? And he would say to her, "It's okay. I'll go text Michael Hearn. He'll probably know." And it made me laugh and kind of tear up to to think someone thought that much of you that they would know maybe that you've seen a team that, Kalida, that they would play once a year, or an Allen East or whatever it was. But it just kind of made me laugh. We had that kind of shared thing, and sure enough, I mean, I have a litany of text messages from him that kind of prove that point. But there are a ton of great people. You'll hear 9 different interviews, one including Harlamert, again, like I said, with Denny Cisco and I in a couple of minutes. You also hear from Lincoln View head baseball coach Eric Fishpaw, Defiance head baseball coach Tom Held, who was, with the Acme and everything that Coldwater did and what Lou did to bring Acme to the forefront and the greatness that it has become. Those two guys share that. Minster coach Mike Wiss is one of my favorite people and one of my favorite interviews. He's very candid about their friendship and kind of how they sort of came together. St. Henry coach Mike Gast, he'll talk about kind of the same thing and kind of what it was like masterminding on the other side. Mark and Tom Brunswick, who, again, since these were taped, have unfortunately lost their dad, Lou, and just kind of the hardships that they've gone through. And then with Jacob and Becca Wenning, they talk both about Jacob, about how Harley helped make him a better man, and about how he was always there to help Becca when she joined in on the Acme tournaments and about the season. And I just hope that you take away from this what I took away from it, and that is that Brian Harlamert was a tremendous man. And again, I didn't really get the pleasure to sit and talk to Lou. I hate that I didn't. It just, it's the way the world is. But it was both just amazing men. I can't say enough that I feel for the community, and I really hope that you enjoy this podcast. I put a lot into it. I'm really going to miss my friend, and I hope that I hope you get a feeling of who he was when you hear these interviews.
Hey, guess what? We found our halftime guest. Look, when you're a big shot and you've won as many state titles as he is in possession of, you just forget to remember the little people, I think is how that goes. An absolutely terrific performance by the band. Joined now by the baseball coach here at Coldwater and Brian Harlamert. Here's how I know you and I are different. Well, one of the reasons. Because if I were you, I would wear around every ring every day and just walk around and just say bling bling all the time.
No, that's not about me. No, it's about our program and our success of our players, and I'm just a person right now running the program.
If I was them too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it is cool though. I mean, the success that you guys have had, obviously here, but the success you guys have had over the years. We joked about it earlier on about how good Zach McKibben was when he was here, and how it seems like you guys just continue to find players like him. It's not a big community. Where is this happening from?
Well, I think it's our youth program has always been successful in a lot of our sports. So, our little league programs, our soccer program, our youth soccer boys programs, and we just continue to have good athletes, and I think a lot of it is our kids and our parents, and just the expectation around here is to compete and play hard, and you win some games.
Earlier this month, you were named or elected into the Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame, which is pretty spectacular. How you had to be ecstatic when you heard the news. What's it like to be a Hall of Fame?
Well, it hasn't sunk in yet. Truthfully, it's just one of those things that, to do my job right now is like every day you go to your teaching job and you go do your practicing when the springtime comes around in the summer. And it's never really a goal for me, and I couldn't tell you how many wins we've had, over the years. But last year was a 500 win season. That's something memorable. But I don't worry about wins and losses. Our kids make better baseball, play better kids, and just going out there and do our job. So that's the satisfaction for me right now. It's not just me getting this award. It's our program. It's my coaching staff. It's our players over the many, many years.
Typically, when you think of a Hall of Fame inductee, that person is retired, but obviously
really old.
But obviously, you're still coaching. Is it kind of a surreal thing?
It definitely is. I just turned 50 years old just about a month ago, and I plan on a couple more years of coaching and of course teaching.
A couple more years of coaching.
A couple more, we'll see. It's just it's the same thing. You talk to Coach Hott and Chip Otten is been in the Hall of Fame last year in football. He's still doing his job in coaching, and I'm similar to him. And we just do our jobs. It's not about wins and losses. It's about just being able to do our best we can for our community and for our family and our kids.
Is it like the typical thing? As long as it's fun, as long as you enjoy what you do, you're just going to keep on doing it?
I think so. If my health holds up and I still enjoy doing this, we have a lot of good young players coming through our youth, and I don't see the well going dry anytime soon. So, if I can keep doing it and my staff stays with me, there'll be a lot more success coming.
I'm curious to know, we talked about this during baseball season, but feels like it was forever ago. Between you, Mike West, and Jeff Sanders, who was the best player on that UD team?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that one. Come on.
Jeff?
I think
he told the story, too.
I think I'm a Hall of Famer on that one, that league too. So no, it's good. You got great friendships, from those two, Jeff and Mike and Mark Wist, Tony Osborne, a Parkway kid, a Hall of Famer, Ben Ernst, his son's still playing at Ohio State baseball. So the success we had in our area, all went down to play at UD. We turned the program around, and that was a satisfaction for a lot of us. But again, a lot of great friends, and we compete yet today, on the field, it's the coaching, so it's fun to do that stuff.
Well, it's funny because I told the story in the spring. You had sent your crew to scout a Minster tournament game. I think they were playing Riverside. They were somewhere north. Yeah. And Mike said, "Who did he send?" And you had texted and said, "Well, what's the score?" And he told me to tell you to go away. And I laughed, and he said, "You should see the text back and forth between us." And I said, "I can only imagine. You guys obviously, played each other enough times where your kids know each other." For me, I thought that was the funniest thing because to just see, all right, it's coaches, they're not stodgy. Yeah. It's just neat to see how your guys' camaraderie has held up over the years.
And we share a lot of things. I know last year they took us down in tournament, and we were supposed to win. They beat us in 9 innings, and after the game, I already had a report on the team we're going to play next, and Mike had no idea he was going to play. So he wasn't worried about that. We were looking ahead, trying to find people who are going to play and scout people, and so we shared all of our stuff with Mike. So I think that's just a friendship. When we compete on the field or on the diamond, right at game time, after that we're best of friends and go about doing that stuff and help each other everybody can. So it's just a good friendship that hopefully will last many years.
You join your mentor Lou Brunswick in the Coaches Hall of Fame, and that has to mean a lot to you from a personal standpoint, but also the fact that you've taken over a respected program, a winning program, and kept that tradition going. That has to be something special for you as well.
Both ways. First of all, Lou Brunswick is a good friend of ours. We call him the General for a reason, and a lot of people have been through this program and are still coaching. From Trent Deuce to Greg Wilker up to Mark and Jeff, and a lot of us who learn a lot from Lou. And I'm just happy that hopefully he's still alive, and a year from now he'll be able to go down there or be a part of that maybe a little bit. But just two coaches that are in the same high school in the Hall of Fame. It's a great feeling, but it's also, your next question about the success I've had, and I remember I started, a long time ago, 25 years ago, and I was a young coach, and it's like, it was a little pressure, to start out
for sure.
after Lou, and, and helping Gabby Walker for a couple of years, and Bob Miller helping, and I knew I had an enemy to do this job, back then, but it took a lot of work, and there was some tough years in there, but 20 plus years later, we're still doing it. But a lot of that goes back to Coach Brunswick. We all respect him and learn so much from him, and without him, he started a program at the park, the youth, our program wouldn't be where it's today.
Last couple of weeks for Coldwater Athletics, obviously today, soccer team wins district title. They'll play OG on Tuesday. All the way up in Defiance, by the way. I don't know who drew that up, but volleyball, I know, was a special run for you specifically. I saw you at Kaleido. We joked, we talked a couple of times. What that process, just sitting in the stands, just having to watch and not being able to help out.
sometimes it's nice to be a parent and be a fan, to sit here and to watch a football game. There's a little less pressure, with our son on the football field in the past. Aaron played and Olivia played volleyball, and Annalise had a great career playing volleyball, and it was tough to watch her not win that game on Wednesday, because that's her passion sport, and you always say, you got next year, you got next sport, but this is her last year. So, she playing 4 years and just had a great career, an all-league player, broke the record with most assists in her career here, and going to play next year, hopefully, in the next level at Tiffin. But it was hard to watch them, to get beat, but it's also you learn life lessons from playing sports, and you're a better person for it. That's why you play sports. You don't play sports to get rings and go to the Hall of Fame. You play sports to make you a better person. And I think that teaches you a lot of lessons, hopefully life lessons you'll taught.
Well, I think you play sports too because there's a passion there, and because if you didn't have the passion, then you wouldn't have the drive. And
for sure.
You know who says that? Coaches with a lot of rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think everybody's a better person when they win. Right?
You're right. It's a challenge, but watching her play, that was her passion sport. And I always say, if I didn't have the drive and the passion to keep coaching, I won't be doing it anymore. But I think, I got that passion and drive still there, and I love going to the ballpark, love going to our facility to hit in the wintertime, and it gets better. And that's all part of it.
If you, Nick Fisher, and Chip Otten flip jobs for one season, which one of you is the most successful doing the other one's job?
I'd have to go with Coach Otten, because Coach Otten loves every sport, and he goes live, and we all do. Nick and I, you grew up together. We're all friends, and I think what we do in our one sport is we do well at it, but I think we support each other. So I think that's more important in wins and losses, is support each other. And if I had, I've asked Chip to do a lot of things for us in the summer with throwing BP, and I've helped Nick Fisher do things, and we all help each other. So, to be successful, you got to have more people in yourself. And that's like me with our coaching staff, Jason Helmgard and Corey Klinke to our son Aaron helps us, Aaron Weigel over the years, Mike Mormon, Toby Seifring, down the list, Ryan Spriggs. There's so many people that have been a part of my 25 years of coaching. And without all the support, there's no way anybody can do it.
Well, you got to be nice to Jason, because every 5 years or so he populates your quarterback play for the entire school, and your pitchers and your shortstops, and
Unfortunately, that well was dried up, but now we just go to the next group of kids coming up. So, but he does a great job as our principal, and our AD does a great job for all of our sports. And just watch halftime, our girls up there playing soccer one day, and they're out on the track getting their little award there for them. So a lot of those girls out there are my daughter's friends, and I know the girls growing up, we played soccer through the days, and Annalise loved soccer until she was about a fifth grader, and we're at it was a funny story. Nikki Essler and Mike Essler didn't know who Annalise was when she was a fifth grader, and she knew Olivia, who played a little older junior high girl, and we're at a fundraiser for Dan Caney's son, home run derby. She had who's that go ahead and home run? It's like, that's Harlamert. Who's that? Well, she didn't play volleyball? No, she doesn't. Well, she's going to be playing volleyball. and that was a fifth grader, so she had to quit, give up her soccer days, and she loved playing soccer. Her and Ava Gear were the best of friends playing soccer, and my niece Blair Molenkamp are still playing, but she decided to go play volleyball, but it's been successful for all of our sports in the fall. From Haley winning going to state tournament this year for running for cross country, to our soccer team, to our golf team, to our volleyball team. Our girls have had a great fall.
Well, we thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us here at the half.
And sorry, I was a little late. I was sitting right down below you guys watching the band play. I go,
two of us texting.
It's like, oh, Michael Clapp. I go, what's thank you.
When I thought about doing this episode, I'll be honest with you, I cried a couple of times just thinking about how to try to put some of these things into words. But there were immediately people that came to my mind, and one of those people is Minster head baseball coach Mike Wiss. And the reason why, you've known Brian for what it feels like probably a handful of years.
Yeah, a handful is probably a nice way to say that. I'm not going to say that Brian and I were really good friends in high school, but once we got to the University of Dayton, the friendship really took off, and we were college roommates and teammates for 4 years, and after UD was done, we made our way back to our own hometowns. And I've been now at Minster. This will be my 29th year, and I think Brian was at Coldwater for 26 years. So yeah, good relationships. Lots of really good, a really good lifetime friendship between us.
I've always known that you guys have gotten close as far as the coaching community, and when you throw in Fort Loramie's Jeff Sanders, I thought that was a really neat story about the three of you when I first heard it. But my story I always tell everybody about the two of you is a couple of years ago, I had your tournament game at Riverdale, and you would come by and ask me what they were doing, and he was texting me the whole time, getting ready for their game, asking me how you guys were doing, and you jokingly said, "Don't tell him anything. He doesn't need to know anything extra."
Yeah, that's a long running thing between he and I. It's that's part of that is good sportsmanship. Part of that is good friendship. So I cherish those moments.
I just always loved it because I had told my wife what had happened, and she said, "Oh, that's the guy you're always talking about." And I said, there are many people that you meet in the course of life that just sort of come and go, but for me, he's one of those people who has a lasting impact on me, not only from helping out as far as doing broadcasts or whatever, but just kind of as a genuine person. And I said, it's very rare that you can actually look at someone and say, that's probably one of the best 5 people that I've ever met, and that's the greatest compliment that I can personally pay him.
Yeah. It goes, like I said, being a roommate, being a friend, being a teammate, being coaches in the same league. And like I told somebody earlier, that people talk about rivalries, and if you want to call Minster and Coldwater baseball a rivalry, great. But he won most of them. We won several. And I'm going to be honest with you, there were days that we'd go to the ballpark and I wasn't concerned about a rivalry. I was more concerned about seeing a good friend, because he has a family and I have a family, and life goes, and our life happens. And Minster Coldwater baseball ended up being, I get to see my good buddy, and you don't get that all the time.
Well, and he always had that way too, where I was fortunate to be around you guys a couple of times before the game, and I've talked to other coaches about this, where he would come over and he would have already done, all his ridiculous due diligence that he does, but it was almost like he would come over and try to make you laugh or try to pull you out of your mindset so that maybe you missed one or two things during the game.
Very much. There's a little strategy there as well. He learned that when he played at Coldwater, whether it was under Lou or when he was with Gabby Wilker for a few years. That's all part to it. There's a little strategy involved. He deserves a pat on the back for all that. Coldwater baseball has been really good for a long time. Brian was a part of that as a player and as a coach. And I'm sure the next guy will continue that. But Brian's going to be missed, and by none more than maybe most by me. It's a hard day.
I had a laugh. He made me laugh a couple years ago when he admitted that when you guys came to town, you maybe threw a completely different starter at him. I think you went with your 4 or your 5 in a league game because it wasn't what he was expecting, and then it worked out, and you ended up, I think maybe there was 1 hit or 1 run in that game that he kind of afterwards admitted to me, I've gotten him quite a few times doing different things that he didn't expect, but he really got me on this one.
That's like I said, that's part of the fun. Because Coldwater is Coldwater, they have a lot of good talent, and they seem to hit the ball very well, or pitch the ball very well, or play great defense most every day. And if the time ever comes that you can get a 1-up on them, sometimes people take that, and because it doesn't happen just all the time. And 2 years ago now, because Minster's been in Division III the last 2 years, and the district semifinal game 2 years ago at Elida. That, if memory serves me, it went into the bottom of the ninth, and Minster scored a run in the top of the ninth to take the lead. And you know what? The post game talk that he and I had, and you just don't, not just everybody knocks Coldwater out of the playoffs. The post game talk that he and I had was nothing but friendship. We didn't even talk about the game. We talked about our families. We talked about life. We talked about what it means to be in the MAC. And, you know, that's what our relationship was. It was just good friendship. Our families meant the most to us. And I appreciated every moment that we got together.
Well, and that day sticks out to me, too, because I did that game, and they were having the D4 districts were at Coldwater, and Lincoln View went to 11 or 12 or 13 or some kind of crazy amount of innings. And those two games, worked against each other. And I remember the first thing that he said to me was, "How do you think Eric's doing with all those extra innings they've gotten over there?"
Yeah, you know, it's I don't know how to explain it. It's baseball guys being baseball guys, and there's always you're worried about your group. You practice every day with your group, and there's somebody else that's doing the same thing, and it's rightly so in any sport. But you know, Brian was a class act, and there's not many people that are going to contradict that.
Had you talked to him recently?
Last week, actually, we finalized the Ball-Glaze, Mercer, Shelby County Acme schedule.
That sounds like him.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do in the summertime. We sit down and have a talk and organize the Acme schedule for all the teams in this area, so we can get games in on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Wow, that's
and you know, everything seemed to be good. So, like I said, it can happen so fast, and it just did.
With knowing him for so long, I mean, I know you have probably a million different answers to this question, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask. When you kind of look back, I mean, I know you guys have those stories where you can blackmail each other, because he's told me there are a couple of them that he doesn't want me to tell you. But do you have a kind of a moment that, I guess, when you first found out sort of stuck to you about how long you guys have known each other?
I would say that the day that he stopped here at my house in Minster, knocked on the door, didn't tell me he was coming or anything. He walked in my living room and asked me if I would give the introductory speech at the University of Dayton for his Hall of Fame induction. You know, I jumped on that and said, yeah, because I get to roast him a little bit. But, you know, that just, I guess, you know, put into perspective the relationship that we had. And, you know, one other short one would be, it was last year Brian got inducted into the OHS, into the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in Ohio. And it is no more than he has walked off the stage from giving his speech to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Ohio. And I'm sitting in the crowd in Columbus, and he walks up to me because I had been inducted about 4 years prior. And he walks over to me and he says, "You beat me here. That's just about the only thing you ever beat me at." And I laughed, and he laughed, and we gave each other a hug, and the people that were standing around us all smiled and laughed.
And knowing him, he couldn't wait to get off the stage to go say that to you.
To go do that, exactly.
He's playing it. He's probably got it written in the bottom of his notes. He's like, you know, thank you guys for the honor, blah, 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 blah. Go roast Swiss on your way back to the table.
It was good stuff.
That's so funny. And that's, again, that's kind of why I'm so thankful that I was able to do this and you were able to sit in, because I wanted to just let people know this amazing human being more than anything.
Yeah. And, I honestly, as we do this talk here, I just returned home from the prayer service they just had in Coldwater by the church. And, small towns, the priest made several comments about small towns and coming together at tough times and things like that. That's who we are. That's where we live. That's the people that we associate with. That's our schools. That's our community. That's a big thing in this area. And when you don't have it, you don't know that you don't have it. When you don't have it in other places of Ohio or wherever, they don't know what they're missing. And, I feel privileged to be where I'm at. And the group in Coldwater that did that today, from the administration to the church to the family to the kids in school to the teachers, etc., they all need commended on how tonight went.
It doesn't surprise me, because when anybody asks me about Brian, I have said forever, it does not matter who you are, he will always be your biggest fan.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
And that's the greatest takeaway that I've always been able to say to him was he would text me on nights where I thought, hey, I have a Coldwater game. It wasn't great. He would text me and thank me for coming and doing Coldwater, and then 20 minutes later I would get a text that would be, hey, you've seen St. Mary's, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I said, wait a second, which one was the actual purpose for the text?
Right. Yeah, which Brian am I talking to right now?
Who's Wiss throwing tomorrow?
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but he said not to tell you.
Exactly.
Specifically, he said not to tell you. Say they're not even playing Coldwater tomorrow. They're playing Russia, but he said not to tell you.
I'll miss those days.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And, he's a class guy, and I appreciate what you do, so you can pass on a little bit of Brian and a little bit of our relationship to everybody else.
That's Mike Wiss, the head baseball coach at Minster. You'll hear from some more folks here in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Hey, Michael. Hey, thanks so much for having me on and this and that. Wish it was, a better situation, but always celebration of life. And, when you asked me with Coach Harlamert, with Brian, it just goes way back with our family. It's, he was a player for Dad, was on 2 state title teams, played at the University of Dayton, had a stellar career at Coldwater with coaching and playing. And, the biggest thing I always loved about Brian was how he always gave credit to other people. First and foremost, he did a great job himself with the program, but he never forgot his roots. And what was so important is, my dad was there, Lou Brunswick was there for 35 years, created a foundation and a nice program. And then after a couple years, Brian had gotten a job. And, Brian always led back to my dad in regards to, building the foundations. And we're just here to try and keep the legacy of Coldwater baseball and Lou Brunswick alive. And, that just speaks volumes of people, to be able to give back, to always give credit. And sometimes, wishing, they would take the credit too. And Brian did such a tremendous job. He was so instrumental to not only the community as a coach, but as a player, as a role model for the kids, and a great teacher to school too. With Trish and the family too, it's, it was amazing the life he led. And, obviously it ended shorter than longer, but, what a great man, what a great accomplishments. Coldwater, not just Coldwater. People are going to miss him. And what is amazing about that, it speaks volumes of people, about people is when, you know, everybody takes notice, and Brian was a part of everybody's lives. You know, I'm over here in Bellefonte, and still today, I just, you know, I don't have a better word than shocked. It just really hurts, but I'm here to celebrate the life of Brian because he was such a great man.
When I think of Harley, I think of three words: respectful, helpful, and leader. Those are three things that Harley was and represented. He had a great demeanor about himself. He was calm, cool, collected. You know, he showed a lot of respect towards himself, his players, his opponents. He was very helpful to me earlier in my career. I would reach out to him and ask him things that they did, and he was always willing to share, and that's what I'll remember about Harley. I always enjoyed catching up with Harley at the coaches clinic and just talking and conversing, and I'll always remember Coach Harley reaching out and celebrating other coaches' successes, you know, whether it be a conference title or a tournament run. You know, he was always the first guy that you get a text message from congratulating you and just really pushing you to be a better person. Gonna miss you, Harley.
You know, Mike, the things that stand out to me about Harley is his leadership. Over the years, you know, here's a guy that followed a legend. You know, Gabby was there for a couple of years in between, and able to sustain what Lou had done for so many years at Coldwater, and for a lot of people don't understand how difficult that is. But what always stood out to me is Harley as being a great leader, because he always surrounded himself with great people. Like, he had great summer coaches, he had great assistants, he had the community involved, he had people working on the field. Like, he made Coldwater baseball a family, just like Lou had started. He never tried to change anything, and that is a true man of humility, a very humble person, and a very smart person, because he knew what he was doing there, that Coldwater baseball was much bigger than any of us. Any coach, any player, it's its own term, and it's its own legacy is Coldwater baseball. And I think that's what really stands out to me about Harley. You know, over the years, you know, Harley and we have rarely, I don't know, we faced each other ever in spring, maybe once. But we always play, our teams always play against each other in the summer. And obviously, we obviously weren't the coaches in the summer, but we'd be there and obviously talking baseball and talking life what Harley he had over 500 wins, and you know, he's a guy that they would have had very easily could have had. Lou had 700 some wins. Harley was on his way to 700. He was still young at 51. But even though we didn't compete against each other in the spring, Defiance and Coldwater, we texted a lot, because obviously Coldwater played all the WBL teams, and then Coldwater being Division III, a lot of great Division III teams up here in our area. So when it came tournament time, he was doing a lot of texting with me, and during the regular season, I was getting a lot from him on the WBL teams. And so we talked numerous times throughout the season. And actually, we were probably more on each other's side because we didn't compete against each other during the spring. But it's a relationship I will always cherish. And he's just a first-class man, a great team guy, and very humble man, and somebody we're all going to miss, that's for sure, in the baseball world.
I'm Tom Brunswick, and I am the Coldwater Acme baseball coach. I've done that for the last 20 years, starting in 2002. And in all those years, I've worked with Brian during the summer. And as we know, we lost Brian this week suddenly, and it's been really tough. But Brian was so proud to be the baseball coach here at Coldwater High School and gave it everything he had. He was always positive with the boys and got the best out of them. Brian always included his coaches when talking about the success of Coldwater baseball. He always said it was our program and we win together. Brian was so proud when the 2014 state tournament won it and also the 2019 team. He had so many good teams in the other years, but those teams were able to win the last game. And I never forget seeing Brian's happy, smiling face looking up. And I just will remember that forever. Working with Brian as the summer Acme coach was a pleasure. After losing your seniors in the spring, it is time for the Acme season. In a short time of a month or a month and a half, basically June and part of July, next spring's team is assembled quickly. Brian and I worked together on a daily basis to give the boys an opportunity to play and become the best team possible in that short time. We always respect each other's opinion and work together on our ideas. Actually, I got a chance to see Brian as a freshman playing for my father's team in the early 1990s, late 80s, early 90s. And he came up as a 15-year-old freshman and was an outfielder and had success right away and went on to win a couple of state tournaments in those years. He had a fantastic high school career and went on to play collegiate baseball at the University of Dayton, where he did break many, many offensive records there. I actually got a chance to coach Brian when he played for the Grand Lake Mariners in the early 1990s. In 1998, Brian became the head coach of Coldwater baseball. It has been impressive how he progressed to become the Hall of Fame coach, high school coach that he became. Brian had over 500 career coaching wins, including 2 state championships. But to me, Brian is a Hall of Fame person. He always sent out positive vibes to the other players and coaches and would always say, hey, let's just win the day. If he wouldn't win that day, well, he would be positive and be ready to go the next day, and expected that from his other coaches and players. Brian was loved by all because of his personality and his love for life. So many great memories of Brian, and we're all just going to miss him so very much. Always a pleasure working with Brian, and the shock of this week has rocked the community, and definitely going to miss Brian so much. Love you, Brian.
The one thing that sticks out to me right away about Brian is after I got hired at St. Henry a couple of years ago, I didn't really know what to expect. Just being a new head coach and never having done it. But Brian was one of the first individuals outside of St. Henry to reach out immediately with, warm congratulations and, just a genuine excitement for me, and just a willingness to help me out, just understanding that I was kind of in over my head at the time. And, he was that way, the whole time I've been head coach. He's always been there. If I, not sure what's going on with Acme, or if I have a question about league play or different opponents, he's always willing to help out. Just a very genuine, positive, selfless person, just trying to, help others out and help others get better, which is pretty surprising. I guess it was surprising for me because, this is one of our rivals, and he's going out of his way to, be excited for me and try to help me out. But that just kind of tells you what kind of human he was. I'm going to miss him.
Taking a look now at the other side, and from a player's perspective and a young man perspective in Coldwater standout now, Ohio Northern University's Jacob Wenning, obviously a big shock yesterday. What kind of impact did Brian have on you as a man growing up?
Yeah, Coach Harlamert was one of my favorite coaches I ever had growing up. He really just made my love for the game of baseball grow and made me want to play in college. So he just was a huge inspiration, not just baseball-wise, but just life in general. Like, now I'm going to be a teacher in a few years and hopefully coach baseball and follow in his footsteps. And he was kind of the one that gave me that dream. So just growing up, always looking up to him as a young kid. I was a baseball manager when I was younger, went through the Coldwater baseball system, and he just left a huge impact on my life.
How much your last couple of years when you were at Coldwater did he sort of help change your mindset to more of a college look of, I know you're going to go play, maybe here's one or two extra things from his experiences that could help you?
Yeah, every day I showed up to practice, he was always ready to go, just getting us motivated, and that kind of helped me grow from a young kid who liked playing the game to kind of realize that I want to do this more than just playing on a high school baseball team. So he kind of helped me out with that dream. He helped me with my college search and ended up at Ohio Northern. So I have to give him all of my thanks for getting me where I am today. I've enjoyed my time here at Northern. He's always been checking in on me and sending me texts throughout the season just to see how I'm doing. So it was always cool to have a coach that not just cared about you while I was in Coldwater, but even after the fact. Every time I come home, he's always checking in, seeing how I'm doing, always inviting me out to the field to interact with the high school kids and help out however I can. So just having a guy like that in my life, and it was just awesome to have.
I've been asking everybody this, but when you just kind of immediately get into that headspace when you found out that he had passed away, what's the one immediate memory of you and he that sort of stands out?
Just the way he treated us whenever we were playing Coldwater baseball. We had a huge team. My junior and senior year, we went to state both years, lost junior year, ended up winning senior year, but just he had left a huge impact on us. That group of 2018 seniors and the 2019 seniors, we really came close, and we can all say it was thanks to him. So we've all been in touch ever since. And when I found out that morning, I was in class, in an astronomy class, and it just kind of hit that I'm not going to be able to see him again, talk to him about baseball, just about life. And I think it really impacted all of us seniors. I think we're all trying to come back this weekend from whatever we're doing in college or work or whatever, just to show our respects to him and the entire Harlamert family just for everything that they did for us over the past few years.
Well, I thank you for talking about him for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
We'll talk to some more folks coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
Hey, Michael, this is Becca Wenning from Coldwater, Ohio. I'm currently involved with the Acme Baseball Organization, and I have been for a little over a year now. And I have so many great stories about Brian Harlamert and his family and how it all kind of ties in my love for Coldwater. And it all kind of started in the summer of 2003. I moved to Coldwater with my husband, Ben. We had been living in Columbus, and prior to that, we met in Cincinnati. And so I'm originally from Massachusetts. So coming to a small town like Coldwater that was very close knit was pretty intimidating for me, actually. And I wasn't super excited, but my husband, he reassured me that it's a great place to raise kids, and just the community as a whole, that's where he wanted to kind of establish our roots. And so one of the first weeks that we were in Coldwater living in our new house, which was close to the park, we walked down to an Acme game, and our oldest son, Jake, who is in college now, was about 2.5 years old. And so we went down, and Ben knew I loved baseball. That was probably his way of getting me to like the community, is take me to a summer baseball game. And so we're sitting there in the stands and watching an Acme game. And I literally met my first friend in Coldwater, and that was Hanny Kester, who was Hanny Harlamert, and that is Brian's mom. And she came over to me, and she knew exactly who I was, and just started talking about Coldwater and talking about her boys, and Brian and Ben was there, and Bruce graduated with my husband Ben, so we had a little bit of a back history there, but she just made me feel so welcome. And I will never forget that day, sitting at the Acme game and just watching baseball and just really falling in love with where I was at. And moving forward, a few years later, our middle son, Tate, he had been born shortly after that Acme game. And, time goes by, and I'm taking him to Little League, and I'm thinking he's going to be just like Jake and love baseball. And I'm walking through the park, and I wish Brian could hear this story now because I know he'll remember. And Tate was out there and he was crying. He didn't want to play baseball. And I'm like, Tate, why don't you want to play? And Brian was there in the park, and I called him over. I'm like, Brian, can you please just tell Tate that he needs to go play Little League? And Brian talked to him, and, he kind of had to chuckle a little bit. And so let's fast forward a few years later. Tate played a few years of baseball, but definitely when it wasn't his thing. But Brian volunteered when Tate was in 5th grade to help coach the robotics team. And that was the first year that Jared Ebbing had introduced it and kind of brought it to Coldwater, and some of the teachers volunteered to help out that first year. And Brian was one of them. And that's just how Brian is. Like, he's just going to jump in and help everybody. It wasn't just baseball. And I just thought that was really awesome, to kind of come full circle there. And so years go on, and we're just great friends with the whole Harlamert family, and we were lucky enough to ride through a state championship with Jake his senior year in 2019, and it was just so much fun to be a part of that and help Brian, his team help him to get that state championship again. It was unreal. So I just feel like, Brian is somebody in the community that has touched so many lives in so many different ways. And he is somebody, and his family, they help me to love Coldwater as an outsider and help me to feel special and accepted. And as I continue to move on with the Acme organization and help through baseball that way, he had always been sending me texts, and just every time I would see him, he'd ask me about it and just give me a lot of encouragement and inspiration to keep going and let me know that it was the right thing to do. So I just want to say that Brian has really impacted the life of the Wennings in so many ways, and helping us to set our roots here and be happy.
I can't say thank you enough. Eric Fish-Paul, Jacob and Becca Wenning, Mark and Tom Brunswick, Mike Wisson, Mike Gass, Tom Held, and Harley himself for imparting some wisdom. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit me up on social media. You can find at Michael Hearn PvP on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I hope that you've enjoyed this show. I'd love to know what you thought of this show, and I would love to hear more memories of both of these men that have gone way too soon. That's what I've got for this week. I hope you have a great night and even better tomorrow, and just smile and maybe give somebody a call that you haven't talked to in a while. That's the wisdom. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Michael Hearn PBP for more great area content.